That wasn't McAfee that asked the question. Obviously, it was A.J. Hawk, co-host with McAfee and former teammate of Aaron Rodgers. Here's what this reminded me of. And there's a lot we can say about this, and I'm sure there's a lot we will say. The first thing I thought of when I saw this, it reminded me of the stuff that Rodgers was saying 5 years ago, maybe 6, which sparked his memorable comment about me the day he resisted, didn't want to give me the satisfaction, didn't want to mention my name, finally did, and said, don't waste your time reading that crap. That all traced to the fact that he was saying things like this publicly, and I was connecting the obvious dots that trace back to his head coach, Mike McCarthy. There's not enough energy on the sidelines during the games. Well, whose job is it to ensure that there's energy on the sidelines of a football game? Whose job is it ultimately to make sure there's enough energy? And then Rodgers also said in that same time frame, guys aren't afraid of losing their jobs if they don't perform. Well, who's responsible for that? The team that traces back to Vince Lombardi barking on the sideline, grab, 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 right? It's the head coach. And I made that connection, and I'm the asshole. Oops. Sorry. But it was an obvious connection to make.
Sure.
And so what's he saying now? He's saying the coaches aren't doing their jobs. You got to get the guys off the field who are making mistakes. They're making mistakes 20% of the time. 1 out of every 5 plays, they're making a mistake, and the coaches aren't doing anything about it. That's really what he's saying, Chris.
Mike, I don't disagree. Honestly, Mike, it's exactly where my head went. And it's one thing to say, hey, we got to clean things up, and we got guys making mistakes and going there. But you got specific, into somewhat general numbers about the mistakes. Obviously, he's obviously not happy. He obviously doesn't feel like whatever he's complaining about or doesn't like on film is getting through to the rest of the organization. The fact that he has to come out so hard and make these, comments publicly. First off, yeah, it is weird. That a quarterback of his stature kind of always giving the State of the Union address as far as how the football team is. But I think, Mike, that's where I went with this one there. I mean, this goes beyond like, hey, we got some young guys, they got to keep up here, they're not doing a good enough job, to, yes, you're borderline not happy with the way the coach is coaching the football team. And to me, it seems like it goes back to the old conversation from last week, which was simplify. See, he still wants that. And obviously, I'm guessing through the game, it still wasn't simple enough. So he's going to continue to call out these mistakes. And this week, he goes up, to another level. And, yeah, within doing that, that's where he's got to be careful. It's not a good look because it does look like he's throwing the coaches under the bus. It does, for all the reasons you stated. And that's where people are tired of Aaron Rodgers right now more than anything. And I don't get it either. I don't. I mean, it's a little too much, even for a guy like me who, loves Aaron Rodgers.
I think back to how Peyton Manning got criticized for tiptoeing around the issue
offensive line
having,
issues.
Right.
I'm
trying to be a good teammate here, but let's just say we had some problems with protection.
Right.
That's almost an exact
the Steelers' playoff loss.
And that was treated as, oh my gosh, why are you doing that?
Right.
How far we've come in 17 years. That Rodgers is just bearing his soul. And again, it's not the first time. This is what got, and you may be on the list now with me. The Ryan Howard gif from The Office where he's checking off the names. You may be on the list with me for joining me in this idea that he's calling out his coaches by saying this. This isn't what you're supposed to do. This isn't what makes you part of the team. This is what separates you from team. This is what puts you above your peers. You think these guys in the locker room are going to welcome him with open arms today for practice? And of course, you know what will happen. He'll be standing in that same spot. We've seen it for 17 years now. In front of the locker, all the wood behind him, smirking and talking to the beat writers who are, they got to maintain the peace with Aaron Rodgers, so they're going to throw him some softballs. And what did you mean yesterday, Aaron? So there are some national talking heads that are suggesting that you're calling out your coaches. I've been saying that's crazy. Will you say how crazy it is, Aaron? I mean, that's the kind of stuff that's going to go on today. So we're going to be right in line to get we're going to get some of the business from every direction
Well, yeah, we are, but again, and Mike, to what you're saying, I bet he walks in the locker room. I mean, first off, I don't think he's a guy that's disliked by his teammates. I don't.
He's going to get there, though, if he keeps doing this.
He's definitely going to have some in that locker room, and probably has had some in just about every locker room where there's a few that just go, yeah, I don't really like that guy, or, I wish he wouldn't say some of those things. But, the other thing, too, is the fact that he feels the need to address it. I will say in that manner, I mean, maybe there is something to address there that he just doesn't feel like is getting done. And I wouldn't be shocked that if there's some veteran players who maybe pat him on the back and, like, good that you said that, we need to have everybody a little more accountable here. Of course, he's not going to get that same pat on the back from the young guys or the guys that are making the mistakes and not doing as much. That's the issue. Does it divide the locker room a little bit? Definitely, right.
But and we've seen him do this before. This year, back in training camp, the young guys, they need to step up. They need to be more focused. And I've always thought that he uses public platforms as a way to send messages that he has tried to send privately, and it hasn't worked.
That's what I'm saying.
Remember how he manipulated the whole Audible thing?
Yes, right.
He made that into a public issue so he could get his way. And I'm starting to wonder, does he really exhaust all internal available remedies before he starts dropping bombs publicly?
I hear you. Right.
I'm starting to wonder whether he just goes straight to the easy solution. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to blame everybody else, and I'm going to say it's not me, and I'm going to say I'm great and the rest of them aren't, and somebody's got to clean up this mess because I'm doing my job. Why doesn't everybody else do theirs? That's not what he said, but that's the message. So if I'm Matt LaFleur, the coach of the team, I've had enough of this guy right now. I'm trying to coach a football team here, an entire team, and I don't need this guy with his weekly radio spot saying whatever he wants to say to create problems for me. Because if you're Matt LaFleur and you're in that chair where you're running the operation and your quarterback is out there saying this stuff, it does not make your life easier. It makes your life harder. Because now you got to deal with that on top of everything else you're dealing with, trying to get ready to go to Buffalo, where you sense you're going to get your ass kicked on Sunday night anyway. Now you got this to deal with because your quarterback's got a case of diarrhea of the mouth, and he decides he's going to go off on all these things. If I'm Matt LaFleur, I am pissed. Now, maybe he finds a way to serenity now it deep down into his soul, and I think he's done that a lot since he's been in Green Bay. He's found a way to contain a lot of frustration and manage relationships. But, man, at some point, I'm sitting that guy down, and I'm telling him what's what, and I'm telling him to shut his effing mouth.
I mean, that won't happen. That won't. Now,
it needs to.
Well, maybe Matt LaFleur can find a way to say something along those lines. Mike, I'm with you too. I don't know if he exhausts these things either behind the scenes or if he just comes out with them and says them publicly to put pressure on the situation. I got the impression from last week after the Jets game when he said the simplify thing that was something that was off the cuff and maybe caught Matt LaFleur off guard a little bit. Or certainly just with Matt LaFleur's reaction the next day as far as what does that mean. That to me, when he said that, meant like, well, there must not have been much of a conversation about this beforehand. That it was just called out, after the fact, after a game where there was some mistakes and things didn't look good. But again, I like Rodgers and his honesty. I do in a lot of ways. But this is when like being too honest goes too far. Like you're not. I don't think you're necessarily doing your team or getting what you want done to help your team. I don't think you're doing anything good along those lines by taking this approach. That would be what I say. To your point, now Matt LaFleur's got to answer those questions. To your point, now guys in the locker room are going to be, kind of talking about, Ray Rodgers, he called out the coaches again yesterday. He called out some of the young guys. Does it cause like little drama in the locker room that way? Distraction, whatever you want to say? Of course it does. And then add on top of it, it just gets tired. It gets tired. Again, as the guy who sat here and defended Aaron Rodgers as the greatest of all time forever, I get sick of this. It doesn't look good for him as a guy that wants to root for him and be seen in a good way. Yeah, well, that's where it is frustrating. And it seems like it's always something like this around him that we got to talk about. And I think that's where I get tired of it. You get tired of it, and a lot of fans are tired of it. All you got to do is go on social media and read some of the stuff there.
And let's be clear. This isn't start pouncing on a guy who's down. I've been waving this flag around for a while now, and I'll say it when he's playing great, and I'll say it when he's not playing great. If he steps out of line and starts talking about things that he should not be talking about publicly, and he's sending messages, and the messages are obvious. See, Chris, I'm thinking back to the storyline that led to him calling me out. And look, oh, you're just mad he called you out. No, I love it. It's great. It's given me years of content. It's awesome. But he wants to be able to vent. He wants to be able to send his message, and he doesn't want to be called on it. He wants it to be subtle enough that no one will say, hey, man, you're calling your head coach out. You're suggesting your head coach isn't doing his job. So what he did yesterday, he's saying that there are players on the field that should be benched, have their reps cut. They should be benched for making these mistakes. And he's calling out his coach for failing to do what Aaron Rodgers thinks he should do. Bench the players who are making these mistakes at a rate of 20%, not 2%, 20%. 1 out of every 5 plays, somebody is committing a brain fart that is causing us to not do. Because it's not me. We're going to get to that quote, though. It's not me. I'm great. Somebody else is messing up this machinery. And this is just, hey, I'm fine with strategically using whatever means are available to get your message across. And sometimes public platform is the way to do it. But when you start doing it too often, that's why I'm thinking
it looks non-gratuitous.
I have a feeling that this isn't something where he's saying, I've tried everything I can and I'm doing this one time. There's too many of these this one time I'm going to go public with my frustration. And I can't imagine. You know, we've wondered from time to time about an alternate universe where Aaron Rodgers is coached by Bill Belichick and how many championships they would have won. Not as many as they did with Tom Brady. Because at some point, Aaron Rodgers wouldn't have been able to deal with Bill Belichick, and Bill Belichick wouldn't have been able to deal with Aaron Rodgers. And Rodgers would have had to get himself in line because Belichick would have told him where I'd
push back on that notion. I mean, he'd be groomed differently.
He'd have to comply. He'd have to comply.
Right. I mean, we're seeing Brady away from Belichick. He's a pain in the ass too, right?
That's true.
He's a pain in the ass. I mean,
That's
period. I guarantee there's people down there in Tampa are like, whoa, we've had enough of him too. Yeah, go ahead.
He'd have to submit.
No doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. You're right. And then that's the part where we'd all go, well, let's get some popcorn. That'd be interesting to see if he'd ever submit. But Mike, I mean, you know, I'm with you here on this argument all the way. And there is ways. Like you kind of referenced it. What he said back in the end of August, maybe it was early September, when he kind of brought up that the young receivers, can't make mistakes. That was a good tactical way to put a little poker, into the butt of the wide receivers. And hey, we got to be a little bit better. We got to stop the mistakes. We can't have a drop every day at practice. That was great. Now we're going into week 8 in the NFL. There's some flickering of some fire alarm, and some red lights going on in Green Bay right now. Like, it doesn't look good. And then it doesn't look good, too, I think, when you add on everything you've said, everything I've said, and really the most basic premise of NFL football locker room talk and hierarchy is, okay, yes, you're Aaron Rodgers, you're the man, and you can say a lot of things that a lot of guys in that locker room can't say. But like right now, okay, being paid $50 million a year, you're not playing that great either to start calling out other people. I understand there's mistakes made there and everything, but you're also being paid $50 million a year to go a little bit above and beyond than, well, I threw the great 3-yard slant. I threw the great 2-yard pass here. Ooh, I checked to the screen pass. And that's where I would throw the challenge flag and go, man, for what you're being paid and your expectations and what I expect of you as a player, you're playing less than. Whether it's a lot of the plays that you've heard me talk about or we've shown on this show. where, hey, you're making $50 million a year. Pat the ball one extra time. Stop having happy feet and looking to throw the ball 2 yards at the flat. There's a guy open in the middle of the field for 20 yards. Those are the things, again, even if there's some mistakes here and there, that Aaron Rodgers, for what you're being paid, your legacy, everything like that you got to be the guy that makes the team overcome some of these issues. Again, like Mahomes and Allen have dealt with issues the last few years. We don't care. They don't care. Joe Burrow hasn't been protected since he's walked in the NFL. He's just throwing bombs and touchdowns everywhere on everybody. And
he never says boo about the offensive line that from time to time sucks.
Right.
He never says a word about it.
And then he makes plays where you go, wait, he just got crushed in the head 7 times in a row, and here he goes, well, I'll hold on to it again because I think something's going to happen to make a play. And, again, that's the level I'm trying to hold Aaron Rodgers to. And I don't know, maybe we have to adjust that level, but it rings hollow to all the things you said, and then when you're not playing at a high level either, and you're making $50 million a year, that's what's going to annoy people in the locker room too.
Well, and I think back to how this all came to a head in 2021.
Yeah.
He wants to be part of management. He wants to be consulted. He wants to have a say in these decisions. And I'm a firm believer. I've said this about Rodgers. I've said it about Russell Wilson. I've said it about other quarterbacks. You want, as an organization, your quarterback to be a quasi-member of management, a boss on the shop floor. You get the messages that the coaching staff wants communicated to the players. You do that through the quarterback. The quarterback's the conduit. It's what Tom Brady was kind of saying last week when explaining why he was yelling at the offensive lineman. That's what quarterbacks do. No, not the running back, not the tight end. It's for the quarterback. You are the boss among the workers. So fine, Aaron, you want that kind of influence. You got to act accordingly. This isn't acting the way that management would want him to act. Unless the truth is he was put up to this by Matt LaFleur, and I doubt that he was. I have to question Matt LaFleur's management style. If his way of getting the message through to the players screwing up is to say to Aaron Rodgers, you go say it publicly, and I'll just sit back. I mean, he's the coach. He's the one that needs to take it directly. So there's no way that Matt LaFleur put him up to this. My point is, if you want to be part of management, you have to be working off of the manual for how to properly manage, and this isn't it.
No, it's definitely not it. And it feels like, again, for to piggyback off of something I talked about already, it feels like, again, a guy that, he's not happy, and he's not happy that, I think what he said after the Jets game maybe didn't get, acted upon appropriately or how he deemed appropriately by the coaching staff and the organization. I mean, it kind of goes hand in hand. We're not, we do this. This is a conversation we've had a lot. We need to be more simple. And then here we are a week later talking about guys making mistakes, where that sounds like he's still not happy with the fact that it's not simple enough. And now he's gone a step farther to go, not simple enough. And the guys that aren't doing things right all the time, or consistently right at least, they need to get off the field, and we got to give other guys chances. That to me, that's another level of the full court press here by him, because I don't think he was happy with how last week shook out, let alone how the game shook out.
The Packers are averaging 17 points per game this year. That's the fewest through the first 7 games of Rodgers' career as a starter, and he's on pace for career worsts in 2 statistical categories.
Yeah, where?
Passing yards per game, 228.1,
sure,
and yards per attempt,
right,
6.5 is his YPA. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.